Today on the Matt Walsh Show, the people who've been calling us Nazis for decades are now concerned that groomer is a vicious, unfair label after years of late.
Well, Matt Walsh, you guys are Nazis. That's why we've been calling you Nazis. If it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, if it sounds like a duck, it's a fucking duck.
Labeling everyone in sight, they're finally getting a taste of their own medicine and they don't like it. The only difference is that, unlike Nazi, the groomer label is actually true. We'll talk about that. Also, the pro-life group.
But the thing is, you guys are Nazis. You ally yourselves with and talk to neo-Nazis and Nazi-adjacent people. What else am I supposed to think? Meanwhile, you have no evidence. You have no data that says that the LGBTQ plus community is full of fucking groomers. Or that trans people are fucking groomers. You have no fucking proof of that.
Blew the whistle about illegal abortions in D.C., held a press conference yesterday. Some of the additional details they revealed are absolutely bone-chilling, but you need to hear them. Plus, the only Joe Biden video that might actually make you feel a little bit sorry for him, if fleetingly, we'll play that. And if you thought woke Oreos were bad, wait until you see what the latest virtue signaling snack...
I don't even know if I could watch this video, because I'm really tired of listening to conservatives bitch and moan about shit that's just not even important. Like, these bitches sit over here and are like, my food is trans, I don't like that. Like, I don't give a fuck, low-key. Like,
that company has come up with all of that and more today on the Matt Walsh Show.
That was quite possibly one of the lamest intros I've ever fucking seen. Everyone laugh at the wet Malsh.
First learned that I was a Nazi many years ago. I don't remember what the opinion was exactly, but I expressed...
Also, wait, hold on. This guy's like, I'm not a Nazi, but calls himself a theocratic fascist. That's pretty Nazi shit.
Some kind of opinion about something, and I was promptly informed that only Nazis think that way or say those sorts of things. Of course, the confusing part was that my opinion had nothing at all to do with Nazism or anything associated with Nazism.
I just thought of the TikTok sound. That right there, that's Nazi shit. That's Nazi shit.
I was a Nazi, and like so many others, I have relearned this lesson every day since. These days, I'm called a Nazi dozens of times every hour of every day. I'm a Nazi for criticizing Joe Biden. I'm a Nazi for opposing critical race theory. I'm a Nazi for believing that men can't have babies.
You're a Nazi because you call yourself a theocratic fascist and think that your religion should become legislature. That's why people call you a Nazi, wet Malsh.
Nazi for not wanting preschool teachers to talk to 4-year-olds about their sexuality. I'm a Nazi for saying that fat people should consider dieting. I'm a Nazi for preferring vanilla ice cream over chocolate, etc. and so forth, on and on forever.
You're a Nazi because you're a fascist. And fascists are basically Nazis.
And I'm not just a Nazi. Again, as so many of you have learned about yourselves, I'm also every ist and phobe in the book. I'm a sexist, a transphobe, a homophobe, a fatphobe, a misogynist, an ableist, a fascist, a white...
He just keeps going. He just keeps going. With this, like, and it's got this weird, like, tinge of victim complex to it. And he just keeps going. Like, the train has no fucking brakes.
Supremacist, and so on. Every week I learn that I'm guilty of new moral crimes that I didn't even know existed before. Last week I was a misogynoir, which apparently is a racist misogyny, racist misogyny against black women is misogynoir. And I'm guilty of that too, it turns out. My supervillain resume continues to grow. I am indeed the worst.
This is wet Malsh, okay? Wet Malsh is stupid, okay? Anyone connected to the Daily Wire, anyone connected to the right is stupid, okay? They're just dumb.
Nazi, white supremacist, fatphobe, ableist, anti-gay fascist, transphobic, misogynoirist, misogynist, homophobe the world has ever seen. Along with all the other Nazi, white supremacist, fatphobe, ableist, anti-gay fascist, transphobic, misogynoirist, misogynist, homophobes. There are a lot of us out there. Half the country, if not more. At least that's what we have been told. That's how we've been labeled. We've been labeled this way relentlessly, nonstop, in response to literally every view we hold, everything we say, every argument we make, and every opinion we express.
Well, maybe you need to rethink what you keep saying or doing, who you keep supporting, Who supports the people that you support? I don't know, man.
So, you must forgive me if I am not very sympathetic to the leftists who are now complaining about being labeled groomers.
Listen, bitch. All right. We don't need you to be sympathetic to us because you've never been sympathetic to us, Wet Malsh. You've never been sympathetic to us. We don't need you to be sympathetic to us. You were never sympathetic to us.
These are the very people who have hung every smear, slur, and label under the sun around my neck and yours for decades.
Not me. Because I'm not a Nazi. Yeah, I think out of all the insults I've ever gotten, I don't think I've ever been called a Nazi. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever been called a Nazi before.
They've literally accused us of being secret agents of the Third Reich. And now they insist that we...
He says as he shoves as he shreds the copy of the check that he got from those people.
should be more careful with the labels that we use. You're right.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Your parents are theocratic fascists. Yeah, that's right.
Accusations are unfair and hurtful, you damn Nazi Klansmen, they say, as they wipe tears away. So you'll excuse me if I struggle to take their emotions seriously. And yet, this is the response they're
Also, this entire opening that he has right now, where he's just bitching about how he's been called a Nazi and shit, it's all fucking cope. It's all cope. It's all cope. It is heavy copium shit.
Over the last several days, in response especially to conservative criticism of Ketanji Jackson's lenience towards pedophiles and our push for parental rights in Florida and elsewhere, the media have declared that grooming accusations are unfair, despicable, shameful, the kinds of things that only Nazis say. The Washington Post has an article headlined, "The New Red Scare, the right leans into pedophilia accusations." And then Vice declares, conservatives are smearing don't say gay opponents as pedophile groomers. The Week wonders, why are Republicans so concerned about grooming? Because it's bad. I think probably I can just answer.
Even though you guys pass laws that say that that kids should be able to marry adults. But the groomers are the people who just want to be validated. And who just don't want to die. Because people like you exist.
It that way. New York Magazine has a long
that is unfair.
Explaining, quote, why Republicans are smearing everyone as pedophiles now. Josh Marshall at Talking Points memo goes farther. He says that the groomer accusation is, quote, pre-genocide talk. So now we're genocidal. But we're the ones, again, who should be careful with the labels, right? And there's, of course, round agreement that the grooming claims are really thinly veiled homophobia. As the Daily Beast explains in their article, Republicans say groomer to put a nice face on homophobia. That article, by the way, written by Daniel Summers.
What?
As in part, read a little bit of this to you. It says, by reaching for the language of sexual predation to be wielded against LGBTQ plus people and our supporters in decrying this law, people calling us groomers make plain that the hatred never really left. The same hideous lies that inform the taunts of my childhood bullies are near at hand for use today. Of course, what we really want is nothing like the vicious falsehood imputed to us. I don't want my own young children learning about sex, straight or gay or otherwise, before it's developmentally appropriate any more than any other parent does.
You can't say that you don't want falsehoods, like, you don't want to be labeled with falsehoods when you're actively labeling other people with falsehoods. Listen, you can deny it all day long, but we have evidence that you guys are connected to fucking Nazis. We don't have evidence that every trans person or that trans people in general are fucking pedophilic groomers. That literally doesn't even make any fucking sense.
What I do want is for them to be able to talk about their two dads in the same easy...
Meanwhile, at every far-right rally, there are fucking Nazis. At the Capitol riot, what was happening? They were flying Confederate flags and shit. Like, I I have no sympathy for these people.
Anyway, their peers with heterosexual parents talk about their families, and for their teachers to be able to participate in guiding those discussions if necessary. I want families like ours to
Yeah, I'm gonna call it right now. I think I found the single biggest productivity hack of 2021. It's this Google Chrome extension called
show up in the book.
I really don't believe this. Because they say, oh, I want them to be able to talk about this and everything. No, the fuck you don't. No, the fuck you don't. If you did, you wouldn't back the don't say gay bill. Fuck you.
It's available in my classroom, in the classrooms, so both my kids and the other students can see that we exist alongside them. I want kids who don't conform to other people's gender expectations to be safe and supported in their classrooms just the way they are. Once again, they are the ones who assume that any accusation of grooming must be a reference to LGBT people. And we never said that. Perhaps this writer has some guilt on his own conscience that makes him leap to that conclusion. I have no idea. What I do know is that all the Florida bill does, and all that any of us are calling for as it relates to this topic, is a prohibition of sexually inappropriate classroom instruction. That's it. We are not saying...
And that is incredibly fucking vague. That is incredibly fucking vague. And they do this on purpose, by the way. They write laws like this on purpose. They intentionally write them vague. They intentionally write them to be vague. Because when they do that, it allows them to push the boundaries. When you don't have something that's in a frame, you can push it whichever would do. When you have something that's like solidified in any sort of frame, you can make it and mold it into whatever shape you want.
Saying that gay people are the only ones who give this kind of inappropriate instruction. We don't care who's giving it. The who is not important. It's the what. And as for that what, the writer claims that he agrees that children shouldn't learn about sex before it's developmentally appropriate, but then, in the next sentence, he says that he wants teachers to guide discussions about his children's two dads. Now, there's nothing in the bill preventing his children from talking about their home life, but why do you need the teachers to guide that discussion, and what does that mean? I don't recall any of my teachers in any grade, in any classroom, guiding discussions about our personal lives. The phrasing here is quite bizarre, and it leads inevitably to the conclusion that, in fact, he does want teachers giving sexually inappropriate instruction to young children, even as he claims otherwise.
Bro, what the fuck does this even... You know what? I'm gonna go wash my hands. Y'all have to listen to Wet Malsh for a little bit longer.
But according to the left, the groomer label is not only a vicious, hurtful smear, it's also, of course, a conspiracy theory. Chris Hayes on MSNBC laid this out last night. Listen to this.
These Republican politicians and their allies in conservative media cannot just come out and say, there is an evil cabal of liberals running a child sex trafficking ring around the world dominated by George Soros, the Rothschilds, and the Clintons, and they also worship Satan. They realize they sound nuts. So instead, they find these not-so-clever ways to play footsie with the people that do believe that make up at least a quarter of the base of their party. Like accusing Judge Jackson of being sympathetic to child abusers, wink, wink. Or adopting the slogan, save the children, which of course sounds perfectly noble, innocent enough on its face, but as Associated Press reports, has actually become a dog whistle to QAnon supporters. Or, more recently, through vague allegations of grooming, an age-old smear to imply that members of LGBTQ community are trying to prime children for sexual abuse. That appears to be the case in Florida, and the basis behind the state's so-called Don't Say Gay bill, which prohibits the discussion in class of sexual orientation or gender identity in classrooms for young children.
Just to clarify one thing, first of all, we are not saying that liberals and Democrats worship Satan. They are...
Wait, hold up. I heard that. I heard that while I was in the bathroom. I heard that. That actually makes sense. That actually makes a lot of sense. I can't believe that they played that. Because I can't believe that they played that clip. From, what was it, MSNBC? I believe they said it was. I can't believe they played that. That fucks them over. That fucks them over entirely. Because they can't say, you know, that they can't say what they want to say, which is the QAnon shit. Yeah, this is just another branch of the QAnon shit.
Satanists, yes, but they worship themselves, and Satanism is the worship of the self. So, but yeah, I mean, absolutely satanic. They are. And so are you, Chris Hayes.
Just because you're a Satanist doesn't mean you're satanic. There's a difference.
That's all a dog whistle to QAnon, he says. Never mind that at this point, QAnon...
If I remember, Satanism doesn't have anything to do with Satan, actually. Unless I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, then please butt fuck me. I don't know.
Comprised of about 4 people posting memes back and forth on a message board somewhere. The irony is that Hayes demonstrates the leftist propensity for smearing and labeling their opponents even while decrying the alleged smearing and labeling of his own side. He says that anybody who wants to save the children or who opposes inappropriate sexual discussion in kindergarten is a proponent of the QAnon conspiracy theory. And they're also Nazis, of course. Meanwhile, even some alleged conservatives have locked arms with leftists like Chris Hayes in an attempt to shield them from the groomer tag. David French, of course, usual suspect, posted an article titled "Against the Groomer Smear." Now, I didn't read it because it's behind a paywall that I'm definitely not paying for, but we can assume that French's argument boils down to this tweet that he sent out earlier the same day. He says, "Redefining grooming and slinging false accusations of sympathy for pedophilia is pure malice. Blue checks doing it on this website know better, but lots of ordinary folks don't. They hear the words and apply their ordinary meaning. That's incredibly dangerous. This is malice. It's dangerous."
I mean, it's true. See, Matt Walsh can't actually engage with the actual argument that's being proposed to him, so he has to sit here and laugh at it. But it's it's a very valid argument in all actuality when you actually give it some thought. Like it's a very valid argument. Most Satanists are atheists, though there are theistic Satanists, but that's a separate, more pagan thing. Okay. Yeah. I can't. I can't. Like he can't actually engage with the actual argument, so he has to sit here and laugh at it because he knows that the argument is credible, or it's a good, at the very least, it's a good argument. He knows this. He knows that that's a good argument.
Inappropriate. That's David French's whole career at this point, is wagging his finger and saying, inappropriate. Now, you have to love this from David French. I mean, it's the perfect mix of wimpish kowtowing, hypocritical dishonesty, and pompous paternalism.
He told you he's not going to actually engage with the argument being posed. He's not going to do it. He's just going to grandstand in front of it and posture as though the person he's talking to is weak. Because again, this is a very common tactic, among fascists. They don't actually engage with the actual argument. They posture, grandstand, and try to make it seem as though they are either stronger or more intelligent than the person that they are trying to shit on. They're the person or idea that they're trying to actively take a shit on.
Ordinary folks are too stupid to understand what is meant by groomer, he says. He's standing up for those ordinary folks who are just morons. And his sentiments are...
That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is that ordinary people are going to hear the term groomer and they're not going to think differently. Because when we hear terms like groomer, child molester, stuff like that, we automatically, due to the fact that these things are bad and the way in which we have been taught to view these things in society, we automatically view these terms. We have a knee-jerk reaction to these terms, and we act accordingly. Like, oh my god, ew, disgusting. Which is completely valid because grooming and shit like that is bad. It's bad. You shouldn't do it. And that's what he's saying, is that it's very harmful to label something that is not grooming. We really need to watch how we really need to watch our accusations, because you can't just label something grooming when it's not grooming, because then there will be consequences for the thing that you're labeling as grooming. More often than not, there's going to be a bad consequence for that thing when it's not even fucking grooming, or that group of people when they're not even fucking groomers.
Echoed by others at alleged conservative publications like The Dispatch and Bulwark. You can't be surprised to see these folks taking this position. I mean, they represent a brand of conservatism that has achieved nothing of significance. I mean, it has presided over the left's total domination of the culture. It has watched haplessly and
so you can't trust these people that these other conservatives that are not reactionary enough like I am. You can't trust these conservatives that aren't, Nazi enough like me. Do you got Nazi, bro? You got Nazi, bro? That's him. You got Nazi, bro?
Helplessly as left-wing radicals took over every major cultural institution, to include and especially the educational institutions. It has, at best, slowed our civilizational descent into the abyss, but probably not even managed that much. And now that it sees a brand of conservatism that is actually landing some blows here, winning back some of the ground.
Literally, Matt Walsh and any one of these fucking conservatives, honestly, it's so boring listening to them now. I might stop it at this point. It's so fucking boring listening because it's always the same bullshit over and over. None of these people are ever a challenge. None of these people are ever any sort of like and they never offer any sort of like introspective new thing or new idea. It's all the same dumb shit where they're just afraid of change because change yicky and they're yucky and they're nasty and blah. Like, I can't with these people.
That was lost ever so slowly, ever so, inch by inch. Now that it sees this brand of conservative achieving what it could never achieve, the proponents of this ineffectual, effeminate brand of conservatism, perhaps out of envy or simply weakness or some combination, they run to the left, becoming outright defenders of what they had previously spent decades pretending to oppose. They hate the groomer label, especially because it works. And these faux conservatives hate nothing so much.
Well, yeah, it works. It works to demonize people. It works to falsely demonize people. That's the way it works. But the thing is, again, even if you're not a Nazi, there is actual there's actual shit that we could like look at to be like, yeah, this is why we're calling you a Nazi, because you said some Nazi shit. Like, you know what? I'm gonna prove a point. We're going to be done with Matt Walsh here. Hold on a second. Let me go close my bathroom door because I don't like the cats to go into the bathroom. Yeah, one of these days we're going to be able to get out of this chair in a graceful way. I want to play something for you guys. So for those who don't know, Dylan runs the Hippy Dippy podcast, or the Hippy Dippy, it's this Hippy Dippy, it's called the Hippy Dippy, and it is it's another debate panel. We're gonna watch another debate panel, everyone. Dave Rubin's very sad gay life. I'm not a huge fan of Dylan Burns. He's okay though, but I'm not like a huge fan of the guy. And that's just me. What question do you have, Vigilante?
You might not know it, but wiping your bum with toilet paper after you poop isn't effective. Toilet paper just smears around your residue instead of washing it away. Need tissue.
I'm good.
What?
Okay, so in your opinion, as a POC, who did more for the civil rights movement, MLK or Malcolm X, the Black Panthers? MLK or Malcolm X and the Black Panthers or equal? Oh, that's a slightly difficult question, I feel like, to answer. Honestly, if I'm a be honest to you,